I really began to cook seriously when I moved to California and when I moved to Sacramento.
And nobody knew. You couldn't get the food you liked.
No.
You couldn't get your food from home here.
No,
It wasn't
no,
available.
but even Italian food in general.
Yeah.
We're talking about 37 years ago.
Right.
That is a long time.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, you couldn't get really good ingredients like today. Today, I mean, you really can get basically anything you want to because there are people who sell it, and if they don't, you can order it from Italy. So, but no, at that time it was just wasteland.
Right. So you mentioned ingredients, which was sort of my next question. What would you say are the most fundamental ingredients in a kitchen for you?
For me, okay, because the ingredients are different to different people. If you come
Right.
from a region, northern Italy, and somebody else comes from a region in southern Italy, whatever they eat is different. Food is still quite regional in Italy. Not as much as it used to, but still regional. For me, the various cure meats like prosciutto, Parmigiano Reggiano, extra virgin olive oil, balsamic vinegar. All those ingredients are part of the area where I come from. And so when you have ingredients like that, and then of course great meats. But great meat you can find it here too. So, but then if you get great meats and you don't have the other things that are supposed to go with that dish,
Then you just
don't
ruin
know,
it,
you can't do much.
Right.
So those are the ingredients that I use a lot.
And what are your favorite dishes to make with those? Like, what is probably like top 2 or 3 dishes that you
For
just
example,
love?
a very basic dish which we have always on the menu is a fabulous ragu, a meat ragu, which
Right.
is made with pork loin, is made with veal, and it's made with prosciutto. It is made with mixed vegetables that are chopped and cooked very, very gently. And then it is made with broth and then a little bit of tomato sauce. And then all that cooks for a couple of hours until you have the essence of meat. And you should see the changes that happen from these raw ingredients when you look into that pot and you see this rich, beautiful mixture. Tastes terrific. And that is a basic of the Bolognese cooking.
Is the ragu.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you go about selecting recipes for your cookbook?
Recipe for my cookbook. Well, as I said, I lived 23 years in Italy, and we traveled a lot up and down the peninsula. And when I moved over here, we were in Italy twice a year. So I can say that I know Italy quite well. And each time we go to Italy, we go to a different area, a different city, a different town. And we explore the food. And then I come back, and it's just like everything in life. You study, you research, you test, and whatever works well, then that's what you use. It's just a constant education.
And your most recent effort is pretty similar, I've heard, to the first, where the recipes they're not simple, but they're more simple and they're very unpretentious.
Yes,
I like that.
That is the food I prefer.
Yeah,
yes.
Me too. What's a typical day like for you?
Oh boy. Well, especially now because I am on a book tour. I'm here a few days and then I leave a few days. I try, when I have the time, which lately I haven't had, I try to exercise in the morning. I have a treadmill in my house. That's very important to me because I'm here all the time. Then I come here about 9:30, 10. And I work, I check the kitchen. We decide the special with my chefs, with my people in the kitchen. Then I go upstairs, and then I start answering mail. I go through my file and decide what I do special the day after tomorrow or the week after, and I select the dishes that we will be doing. So the kitchen is always ready to have other things to do, other ideas. I work on the menus. And so I spend my whole day here working in the kitchen, up in my office. And then at lunch I come down and say hello to people. And then I go home about 4:35, and I come back about 6:30, 7, depending how late I go home.
Uh-huh.
And again, I get into the kitchen. First, I stop here. They have a list for me that tells me who is who, table so and so, there is so and so. And so I go and say hello to everybody. I have customers who have been coming back for 20
Yeah.
years. So I just make sure that everybody is doing okay. And then I spend my time between the dining room, the front of the house, and the kitchen. And you know what? It is so much fun.
I'm glad you
It's
love
a
it.
lot of work, but it is so much fun also.
So I want to talk a little bit about you having cancer.
Mm-hmm.
How long did your treatment last for that? You've been
Couple of
in
years,
remission for 4 years now?
5.
5.
So I'm in a good place now.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah. If you think that nobody has ever had anything in my family, I mean, nobody died of cancer or anything.
Right.
Actually, these are the nurses who took care of me.
Oh, wow.
And so it just happened that I found this little lump.
Mm-hmm.
And good day, ladies. How are you? Good to see you. And so because my husband is an oncologist, I was very lucky that immediately he took me to see somebody, a colleague, and uh, and then 2 days after I was in the first they checked it to make sure. I mean, it was cancer. They found
Yeah.
out it was cancer. 2 or 3 days after I was into surgery, and it was there and it was gone. It was just a lumpectomy, so it just cut.
Sure.
And uh, and then I had to go through the usual thing, chemotherapy, just for safeguards. My husband said because I had just a little bit that was beginning to grow for safeguard, he wanted me to do the chemotherapy, which I did. But that is not a walk in the park.
No.
No. But you do it. You know that if you have to get to the end of the street, the only thing to do is walk to it.
Just go
So you
through
take
it.
one step at a time. You have to do it.
Uh-huh.
And then after I did the radiations, but along the way, it was very hard. But I am such a positive person, and I realized that I had so many blessings that I had all these people who would write me, who would send me flowers, who would talk to me, hug me. I mean, and I had a husband who was constantly reassuring me that I said, it's going to go away, it's gone, I will never come back. And so I took it as I hope most people should take it, which is not to stay home by yourself, not to cry, not to get depressed, even though I realize it can be very, very hard on a lot of people. And sure enough, and of course, I'm still taking drugs, and I probably would have to take it for another 5 or 10 years, but it's all part of the process.
And you credit Martha Stewart for encouraging you to be proud of the
Well,
way you
yes,
looked.
it was just a little thing. My hair was already beginning to sprout, but it wasn't very much, and I had this commitment, and I said, I'm going to do it. And so I had my little hat, and I went, and she said, why are you wearing a hat? I said, well, I had cancer. She said, yeah, I know, well, they told me that, but why do you wear a hat? I said, I have very little hair, I don't look very good. So she said, let me see. She took off my hat. I said, you look great, don't be silly, wear the hat. She's totally no nonsense.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, if it is okay with her, it's okay with me.
Yeah. Okay. And you started the Strength for Living program?
Yeah, they asked me whether I would help out, which was to go to clinics and talk to survivors. And I did it for a year, and it was a great program. I did a small, tiny book with about 12 recipes and a little advice, things that work for me, and suggestion for the people who were at home and they were tired. When you go through that, you just go through the very depressing stage. and you don't want to cook, and if you are not lucky that you have a family who can do this for you, you have to do it for yourself.
Right.
You don't want to eat, nothing tastes good, but that is the time where you really need to take care of yourself. You need